Howdy folks! If you've been waiting and waiting and waiting for me to do another Dutch accent video, then today's your lucky day. In this video, I'm going to talk about what I think is the single most characteristic part of the Dutch accent in English, and that is the devoicing of consonants at the ends of words. What I mean by devoicing is that there are pairs of consonants that exist in many languages that are formed exactly the same way. Your teeth and your lips and your tongue are all in the same positions, but in one of the consonants you are actually making a sound with your vocal cords, ah, and in the other one you're not. So for example, if you make the sounds that correspond to the letters V and F in English, you make them the same way, v, f, but in the V sound, you're actually producing a sound with your vocal cords, and in the f sound, you're not. You're just blowing air out between your lips and your teeth. When you devoice a consonant, that means that you take what originally was the voiced version of the consonant and you replace it with the unvoiced version. So you take what would have been a V and you turn it into an F, or what would have been a B and you turn it into a P. The reason that devoicing of final consonants is such a prominent part of the Dutch accent is that it is very characteristic of the Dutch language. I believe it's a pretty across-the-board rule in Dutch, although I would love to hear exceptions, that if you have a word that should end in a voiced consonant, when you're speaking Dutch, you automatically devoice that consonant. So, for example, the word heb, ik heb een hond, is spelled H-E-B, but instead of saying heb, like you would if you were saying hebben, you devoice the B and you turn it into a P. So you say kep, hep, kep. Clearly a P sound. If you don't believe me, just say hep and hebben after each other. Hep, hebben, hep, hebben. And then, for example, the same word in the past tense, hot, 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 hot. Right? Ik had een hond. Hot. Am I saying that right? Hot. I think maybe the D is a little bit voiced there. Maybe. You can tell me how it is in your dialect, but I'm pretty sure it's not had, had, had. I believe that is an incorrect pronunciation in Dutch. Dutch is the only language that I know of that devoices final consonants so consistently. But I don't know that many languages, or know about that many languages, so especially how they're pronounced. So if you know of another one, then let me know. As you might expect, because this pattern is so common in Dutch, when native Dutch speakers speak English, they will often unconsciously translate that pattern of devoicing final consonants into English, even when native English speakers don't do that at all. Hardly ever, as far as I know. An example of this that you will hear all the time in the pronunciation of native Dutch speakers in English, or at least ones who have stronger accents, is in the word have. Have. In English, have ends with a V sound. A Dutch person will often say hef, hef. So in addition to the shortening of, I don't know if it's shortening, but the mispronunciation of the ah sound as eh, which I'll talk about in a completely different video, there's a very, very strong tendency to turn that V at the end into an F. Hef, hef, hef. Have, hef. And also in the word dog. Dog in English ends with a G sound, which is a voiced sound. The unvoiced partner of the G sound is the K sound. G, k, g, k. Dog, dok. Dog, dok. I have a dog. I have a dog. Other examples of consonant pairs, voiced and unvoiced, are D and T, D and T. So, for instance, the English word bed, bed, with a voiced D at the end, might be pronounced by a Dutch person as bet, bet, with a T, as if it were spelled B-E-T, like the English word bet. Bed, bet, bed, bet. You also have the Z and the S. Z, S. Same sound, voiced and unvoiced. So for example, in an English word like was, I was going to the store. I was, even though we write it with an S, in English we pronounce that with a Z. And I think this one usually Dutch people can pick up on pretty quickly, but if you devoice the Z sound, was, I was going to the store. The place to watch out for the Z sound inadvertently becoming an S is in English plurals, because even though we write all of our plurals with an S, we often pronounce them with a Z, especially if there's a voiced sound coming right before the S. So in a word like hands, like I have two hands, we have the voiced D, hand, so you turn the S into a Z, hands. So a Dutch person might say hands as hands, with that S at the end, almost like a TS. I just discovered a few weeks ago the very happy fact that through the system that we have hooked up to our TV, we actually get the NOS Journaal, so I get to watch Dutch TV every now and then, which is pretty fantastic. I only get one channel, like the 24-hour news channel, so that gets a little bit repetitive at times, but it's still cool to turn it on every now and then and listen to Dutch people talk. And they were actually doing kind of a news story on how Dutch people have such terrible English accents, which I don't think is true, but they were doing a story about it. I guess that's the perception. And they were going out on the street and they were asking people to translate a sentence that was something like, I would like to order the crab. And they were basically getting at this devoicing. They were trying to get people to say crab with a Dutch accent, which makes it sound like crep, which I don't know if crap is like a word in Dutch. Do y'all say that at all as a curse? It's a curse in English to say crap. And obviously the Dutch pronunciation is going to be different because of the thing. But anyway, crep sounds like crap. Whereas the English pronunciation of the word that means the little like thing that you can eat is crab. With the B sound. So hopefully this will help you guys out. If you're a Dutch person, for example, trying to reduce your accent in English, sound more like a native English speaker, then focus on keeping those final consonants voiced. So practicing I have, and keep your voice going through the end of the word. And on the other hand, if you are not a Dutch speaker and you're trying to enhance the Dutchness of your accent, in case, like if you're in a play or something, then devoice all those consonants. I have, hef, dog, bed. Just devoice everything. Make all your V's into F's, your B's into P's, your D's into T's, your G's into K's, and your Z's into S's, and you will sound more Dutch. Alright, that's all I have for you guys today. So if you want to share with me your knowledge about how this devoicing works in Dutch, and if it really is so consistent, or if you have any exceptions, I'd love to hear them. And of course, feel free to make a video response, whether you're an American person trying to sound more Dutch or a Dutch person trying to sound more American. That would be really fantastic. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, kids.